and my niggas tryna get it, yeah, bitch. Yeah, bitch. Hit that house, they tell me, is you with it, yeah, bitch. Yeah, bitch. Home invasion was persuasive. From 9 to 5, I know it's vacant, yeah, bitch. Yeah, bitch. Dreams of living life like rappers do. Back when condom rappers wasn't cool. They wasn't. I fucked Shireen and went to tell my bros. Then Usher Raymond let it burn came on. Hot sauce all that nighttime rhyming, yeah, bitch. Yeah, bitch. Park the car, then we start rhyming, yeah, bitch. Yeah, bitch. The only thing we had to free our mind. Then freeze that verse when we see dollar signs. You looking like an easy come up, yeah, bitch. Yeah, bitch. A silver spoon, I know you come from, yeah, bitch. Yeah, bitch. And that's a lifestyle that we never knew. Go at a rapping for the revenue. Go Holly Berry or Hallelujah. Pick your poison, tell me what you do. Everybody go respect the shooter, but the one in front of the gun lives forever.
The one in front of the gun forever.
And I've been hustling all day, this away, that away, through canals and alleyways, just to say, money trees is the perfect place for shade, and that's just how I feel. Nah, $8 might just fuck your main bitch, that's just how I feel. Nah, $8 might say fuck the niggas that you game with, that's just how I feel. Nah, $8 might just make that lane switch, that's just how I feel. Nah, $8 might turn to $1 million and we all rich, that's just how I feel. Dreams of living life like rappers do. Bump that new E40 at the school. You know, big ballin' with my homies. Bro Stevens had us thinking rational. Back to reality, we pour, yeah, bitch. Another casualty at war, yeah, bitch. 2 bullets in my Uncle Tony head. He said one day I'll be on tour, yeah, bitch. That Louis burgers never be the same. A Louis Belder never eats that pain. But I'ma purchase when that day is jerking. Pull off the churches with Pirelli skirting. Gang signs out the window, yeah, bitch. Hoping all of them offend you, yeah, bitch. They say your hood is a pot of gold, and we go crash it when nobody's home. Holly Berry or Hallelujah. Pick your poison, tell me what you do. Everybody go respect the shooter, but the one in front of the gun lives forever.
The one in front of the gun forever.
And I've been hustling all day, this away, that away, through canals and alleyways, just to say, money trees is the perfect place for shade, and that's just how I feel. Nah, $8 might just fucking made rich, that's just how I feel. $8 might say fuck the niggas that you game with, that's just how I feel. $8 might just make that lane switch, that's just how I feel. $8 might turn to $1 million and we all rich, that's just how I feel.
Be the last one out to get the stove. No way, love one of your bucket-head hoes. No way, hit the streets and we break the code. No way, hit the brakes when they on patrol. No way, be the last one out to get the stove. No way, love one of your bucket-head hoes. No way, hit the streets and we break the code.
No way, wait a minute, Perfect. Wait a minute, Perfect. Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon. Good morning. It's 12 o'clock. It's 12 p.m. Hey, I need a bloody margarita. Hey, let's get going up in here right now. I'm not playing around. You not playing around. Who back in town? It's that time. Every time. On time. Always time. Perfect time. It feels so good, man. What people do for money? What will they do for money? What will they do for the honey? Somebody send out the bird call. Let my brother Alonzo Hall, Financial All-Star, know we talking about life insurance this morning, man, on this brand new courtroom TV format, man. My name is Perfect Time, and it's the Perfect Timing Podcast. I'm simulcasting on StreamYard right now on 3 different locations. Perfect Timing Podcast, Perfect Timing Podcast Live. I'm also on Facebook Facebook at Patrick Potter. Don't ask me why it's Patrick Potter, you sap. Sorry, sucker, motherfucker, you. It's Patrick Potter because I'm fly and I do fly shit and I got a podcast that's so hot, so cool, and so cold. Let's go, baby. Right now, today, we're going to get into a murder trial because it's this court TV format and it's known as the perfect perspective. My name is Perfect. I'll give my perspective, so I call it the perfect perspective. Before we get into the trial, before we get into what people do for money, we got to talk about these money trees. I had to run it back one time because do we ever break the code? No way. Hit the streets and ever fall? No way. K-Dot, tell him for him one time.
This is the perfect place for shading. That's just how I feel.
Share the stream, you bitch, you. Shout out to Rose Gold Jesus for sharing the stream. Don't hate, you suckers. Share the stream. It don't cost you shit, you bitch, you. Let's go one time.
Just make that lane switch. That's just how I feel. $8 mic, turn to a million, and we all rich. That's just how I
Be
feel.
the last one out to get the stove.
No way,
Cut one of your bucket-head hoes.
no way. Got it back, perfect.
Break the code.
No way,
Get the brakes when they on patrol.
no way,
Be the last one out to get the stove.
no way.
Cut one of your
Bucket-headed hoes, no way.
Hit the streets
When they on
code.
no way,
Get the brakes when they on patrol.
no way.
Magic rock up in them projects where them niggas pick your pockets. Santa Claus don't miss them stockings. Liquor spilling, pistols popping, baking soda, y'all are whipping. Ain't no turkey on Thanksgiving. My homeboy just domed the nigga. I just hope the Lord forgive him. Pots with cocaine residue. Every day I'm hustling. What else is a thug to do when you eat cheese from the government? Gotta put five for my daughter and them. Get the fuck up on my way, bitch. Got that drum and I got them bands just like a parade, bitch. Drop that work up in the bushes. Hope them boys don't see my stash. If they do, tell the truth. This the last time you might see my ass.
I know it's gonna do this shit that every time I show my face. I don't give a fuck, cause I don't give a fuck, I'm getting paid. I know it's gonna do this shit that every time I show my face. I don't really give a fuck, cause I was really getting paid. I don't really give a fuck. I know it's gonna do this shit every time I show this face. You hating bitch, can suck my dick. I don't give a fuck about shit about this fucking shit. Every time I show this face, you niggas act like a fucking bitch. I'm gonna be hot, I'm gonna be lit, I'm gonna be the fucking shit. I'm gonna be hot, I'm gonna be lit, I'm gonna be the fucking shit. Fuck you bitch ass niggas wanna hate on the slusher. Fuck you bitch ass niggas wanna hate on the slusher. Ain't nobody hot as me, you weak ass motherfuckers. Fuck you bitch ass niggas tryna hate on the slusher. I'ma do this shit like a motherfucking G. I'ma do this motherfucking shit for 500 over me. You motherfucking niggas be hating on the slusher. I don't give a fuck cause you support motherfuckers. I'ma run it back. I'ma run it back. I'ma run it back. I'ma run it back. Shout out to my brother Rose Gold Jesus for sharing the stream. It don't cost you nothing. It don't cost you nothing.
See, as hell. Shit, he ain't even tripping off them dominoes no more. Just bring the car back.
Did somebody say domino?
Sometimes.
We just getting started. We just getting started. Just getting started. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. We blessed, man. We blessed, man. We blessed, man. We ain't playing. We ain't playing this morning. We ain't playing this morning. We ain't playing this morning. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
Some people got to have it. Hey, hey. Some people really need it. Listen to me, y'all. Do things, bad things with it. Well, you wanna do things, good things with it. Yeah. Talk about cash, money. Talk about gas money, dollar bills, y'all. Come on now.
Come on, y'all. It's the perfect perspective, man. It's Friday afternoon. Let's go, baby. It's the perfect perspective. What you do for money. Let's go.
People will steal from their mother.
Steal from your mother.
People will rob their own brother.
Rob their own brother.
People can't even walk the streets because they'll never know in the world they're gonna be.
For that mean green.
Almighty God, money. People will lie, they will cheat. People don't care who they hurt or be. A woman will sell her precious body for a small piece of paper. It carries a lot of weight. For that great Almighty Dollar. Talking about, I know that money is the root of all evil. Do funny things, some people. Give me a nickel, brother, can you spare that? Money can drive some people out of their mind. No good. Don't sell your soul for the money, no. Lay down, women will.
There was one more.
Make that money, man. Money, man, it's still the same now. Gotta make that money, man. Money, man, it's still the same now. Gotta make that money, man. Money, man, it's still the same now. Gotta make that money, man. Money, man. Gotta get on the grind. Pop the clip in my dial, but you can slip it, could chalk it, fall in the nighttime. Gotta get mine. Ain't taking the shirt to the loss and top of the phone. Call up my nigga, send at home. Probably should have back 10 chrome. Got it that we can hit, so bring your shit. Cause once again, it's on. To the dawn with a flip of bird. My wig to the curb, so I swerve and roll out. To pick up the 666 thug and pop out the murder for robbing the dope house. Smoke up by the vape, I'm so high. Now coming to slay with 4 grenades and a gauge. I'ma play with till I'm fall in the grave. And like, filling in the trolley. We spotted the place and quickly rolled up. Bulldozed to the living room, hopped out of the car and started to blow up. Fucking a kaboom, it blew all them bodies all over the room. Them dumb, ain't gotta move fast. Wide up, purple's coming. Snatch up the yummy, so nigga don't think it's funny. I'm coming up quick and not quick, cause flesh be loving his money.
I'm giving up love to the hustlers, all them cyclip dusters, making that money, stand on your feet. And you better believe, gotta have that cheese for the green. This nigga gets me sweet. Stay on that grind, get my stand out from the prime when I hit it to 9-9. Giving up that yeah, making me say your 20s, nickels and dimes. Pick up the stick up and lick up that 211. Gotta get what's mine.
Man, not only is my freestyle cold, but I got the biggest balls in the game. Who else got the biggest balls in the game? I'm gonna let my nuts drag all over your YouTube face. I'm gonna let my nuts drag all over your YouTube face. I feel like I'm too nice. I go through this, man. I'm not gonna shut down my show. I'm not gonna stop doing what I'm doing. So anybody who's thinking that they're gonna stop me from doing what I'm doing, you're not gonna stop me. I made up my mind already. I talked to God. I got myself right with God. So anything, all of the tactics that's being used against me, I welcome them. I welcome them. I was speaking about long suffering, and I was talking the other day about a panel that I heard about character and how black men are lacking in character. And what I was thinking about is many lessons that I've taught on this show about how to build character and how to get past in this journey. And one of the things that keep coming back to me is a scripture in my grandmother's voice about long suffering. So I am, and it made me think about where we got some of our Stoic teachings. I see somebody today, again, like a lot of my stuff, I don't know how it gets around, but a lot of my stuff gets around, and despite despite the circumstances, my stuff get around. And I heard a popular person talking about Marcus Aurelius, and before Sunclaw really took us down the Stoic path, I was on a journey of improving, and I came across some principles, and Sunclaw was like, you know what, Perf, that's Stoicism. And then we took a journey into Stoicism, and we started sharing with the brothers quotes from Seneca and teachings from Seneca and Marcus Aurelius, because I had been doing a lot of preaching in scriptures, and a lot of my scriptures, had a basis before the Bible was created. Like, these things are pre-biblical, these Stoic principles that we have been teaching on the Perfect Man Show. And I have been including quotes from Marcus Aurelius and different quotes like that in my description. So one of the things that part of the Stoic principles, and I would say one of the linchpins, one of the crux of the Stoic principles, because one of the things about being Stoic is being able to go it out, is resilience, and forcing yourself to do things that are uncomfortable, like to the point where some people like lay on beds of needles and walk on hot coals. And some of the people I've studied say they don't go to the extent of laying on beds of needles and walking on hot coals and to that extent, but they do things like at this point in time right now, as I'm making my journey, and I've already put in the work, over 100 videos, and I think I had 75 episodes of the Perfect Man Show. And then to go live and have the response that I have when I go live at this particular time, it's a couple things that I've done in the past. I've got upset in the past, and I haven't applied the principles that I've taught others, which is the positive attitude that's necessary to manifest the reality that you want. So number one, I'm approaching this with a positive attitude to manifest the reality that I want. So I'm going to provide a positive and bomb show. A positive and bomb show today. So about my topic points, and I'm gonna keep providing positive, bomb informative shows. It's gonna keep being about Father Power. I'm gonna keep praying on my show. I don't care about the reception and the way individuals may not receive. I'm gonna be blessed, and that this is not in the hands of man, despite the forum, despite the necessity for individuals who are human to interact, it's still not in the hands of men. I was given this gift by something greater, so what's going to happen is going to be much greater. I was listening to a youngster, and a youngster really helped me. So no negativity today, no discouragement. I will not stop what I'm doing. I will not stop the new courtroom format. Perfect Time at Podcast, gonna keep on trucking like an 18-wheeler. Everybody, thank you so much for all your love. And the youngster was saying, like, when you got something good, and the thing that's so, when I bring up Stoicism and doing things difficult, the difficult thing is knowing how good I am, how blessed the platform is the blessings that is waiting for individuals who join the platform and join the family is frustrating because, I've always been the big brother and I've been a helper. So I'm looking to bless individuals in the capacity that which I've been given. But the stoic part comes in where keep on trucking, watch your taco, be diligent. The stoic part comes in when it's hard, when you see other people get new shoes, when you see other people have Christmas and you don't get to have Christmas. You know what I'm saying? But you still show up and you still be a good person. You still do the right thing. You know what I'm saying? You still have principles. That's why I read that back. Do we ever hit the street and break the code? No way. See, some people just fold for no reason. And some of us have good reason to fold. Some of us have good reason to do the things that other people do against the code. You know what I'm saying? But what makes what I preached about one day is what made me who I am. What made me perfect is in those times is when God made me. And when I read that scripture, when God said, "You're not them, and I will hold you accountable for not doing the thing that I've asked you to do." So I said it felt like a big homie checking me. That's stoicism to me because I understand the trials and the tribulations create the character. That black woman was on the panel talking about black men lack character. See, that's where Kyle Pill comes from. This physician doctor who murdered his wife for $400,000, he is epitomizing my definition of Kyle Pill. See, you lack character. You lack character because you lack suffering. And when it came for the hard times and the suffering, you threw a temper tantrum and you didn't do the right things to overcome your circumstances and to come and prevail. I remember my big homie telling me it take a little more to be a champion. And what he was saying to me is like during the hard times, when when it's quiet, when it's dark outside, when it's scary, you know what I'm saying? Them is the times that makes the champion, right? So if them is the times that make the champion, who shall win the race? Do you know it's a race? Who is willing to be made in the fire? Or who is just willing to be comfortable? I mean, people preach about being stoic. I don't know if they truly understand what it means to be stoic. One of the guys I watched, he said, my power is to be able to suffer. He said, how I got here to be this person, this rich person that people want to be, is my ability to suffer. He said, I can suffer. What I've trained my body to do and what I've trained my mind to do is to be resilient by suffering, by going through hard times. I can make it through a hard time. And he said, that's how I got here. And the person he was talking to was another life coach. And the life coach said, yeah, me too. Via my suffering is the person that people see and the people want to be. That's how I'm made. So you don't know, some of these people might have the body that they have because they had cancer or some life-threatening illness, and you might want to have that body. You don't know what God may have took them through for them to get that body. Some of these people with this tenacity and this ability to be very decisive, you don't know what type of, they may have lost a child, lost a loved one. You don't know what it took to get there. But I share with you today as I go live and I deal with this whatever I'm dealing with right now. It could be I could be flagged, and I didn't even want to say that. I just wanted to keep going, so I'm gonna just keep going. I'm gonna check the stream though, because I don't want to throw pearls at swine. Okay, so the stream seems to be going. The stream seems to be going. We probably just getting pushed down because of my content. I've changed to a courtroom platform, and it may not be easy shifting over to that platform. And and this is no dig at nobody that, because Rose Gold shared my video today. One thing I feel truly blessed about is this relationship, this rock, this relationship, this renewed relationship that I have with something greater. Whatever you call it, man. Whatever you call it, bro. You could call it whatever you want to call it, man. Whatever denomination. We non-denominational here. But I'll tell you, brother, my ascension, my blessing, my positivity, my ability to keep going in the face, my understanding of stoicism and the fact that I even got to know that our son Claude is have everything to do with this relationship. This relationship that I have with something greater that I call God, the creator, is what spawned the relationship with Lazo, with Rose Gold, with Son Claw, with Roguish. I'm listening, support, Ken seeing red support. This stability that the Shaolin monks talked about and taught us about. I want to say thank you to all my 5.0 Cool Table brothers, and I love you for everything you've ever done, every Cash App, every view, every subscription. It means the world to a YouTube content creator. And I just attribute it all to this relationship. And I would share with anybody who listens. Relationship. See, people say a lot of times the key in life is getting to know yourself. Relationship with something greater. I talk to you a lot of times about not looking away, about looking at the man in the mirror. We sung that song, doing a self-assessment. Who stole my cheese? Who moved my cheese? Relationship with oneself. The who moved my cheese is about relationship with oneself. Him and how finally had to laugh at himself because he finally started to get to know himself. He had lost himself. He had to find his shoes and find his sweatsuit, and he was overweight. He had to work out before he could start running the maze and the capacity in which he could find cheese and food again. But once he did find his tennis shoes, once he put on his sweatsuit, once he got his strength back and he was able to run the maze, even though he didn't find shoes, he was felt rejoiced in black, even though he didn't find cheese. And I've been there, bro. Like, that's what I'm talking about today. That's what I'm going through right now. Anybody watching who haven't found cheese, but you feel blessed, I feel rejoiced, invigorated, and positive to keep going, because even though I haven't found cheese, I know I'm blessed. Because what have I done, y'all? I realized that my cheese has been moved and I'm on the hunt for new cheese. That's why you see me with new platforms, new formats, the perfect perspective, the World is Yours podcast. I'm not stopping. Whatever avenue it's going to take, something going to hit. I'm running full speed. I know it's a race. So run the race to win the race. God is sparking my creativity. Even though I haven't found cheese, I feel blessed. I come on every day. I'm running every day. This should be something that you take a heed of, bro. I haven't found cheese. Anybody watching and listening be like, oh, the views and this. And I heard black women be talking big shit about cash shit about us. Why are you on YouTube with no views? Nobody watching me. Why are you wasting time and money on YouTube? And because God called me to do this. God gave me a talent. This is my talent. It's about relationship. I'm running the race regardless. Because at one time, I was eating moldy cheese from a funky bitch like you who can't do nothing, who won't support a black man. You want to talk shit about black man trying to build his dream on YouTube. Yeah, it's a dream, bitch. Yeah, I asked for cash apps, bitch. Support me, bitch. At one time, I was overweight, stagnant, upset, eating moldy sour cheese that you kept feeding, like you doing right now. A lot of you YouTubers is feeding men moldy sour cheese. But finally, when I realized it was my fault, I don't blame you for the bitch you are. I don't blame you for being the sucker that you is. I accept you as the sucker you is, as the fraudulent you is. What I realize is you was gonna be a snake and you gonna be a sloth, and I'm an eagle and a lion. I gotta be that. So why could I be mad at you for being you? I started to look at myself in the mirror, and I was unhappy with what I saw, and I sought to change that. So I said, God, he said, look, son, for yourself, I gave you eyes. Remember Roberto Clemente? I had teeth. Son, I gave you eyes in which to see. I gave you legs in which to move. So you know what? I used my eyes that God gave me, my legs. I found my tennis shoes. Huh? That's my microphone. I found my sweatsuit. That's my laptop. And I start running. And even though I haven't found cheese, I'm running. Today, I was thinking, I'm in my courtroom bag. I'm in my courtroom format. I got a brand new short up. Shout out to Rose Gold Jesus, because I didn't even know how to do shorts before I met Rose Gold and Lazo, and I've learned so much from them. His channel growing. He gonna be at monetization real quick, because he just God bless those who bless others, and he didn't have to bless me like that. So I know Rose Gold gonna be at monetization and beyond that. So shout out to Rose Gold, Jesus, Lazo, the MC, the whole family over there, man. Unconditional love. She just followed me on Instagram. I took a break from Instagram, but I appreciate all my Instagram followers and support. I'm gonna be back on Instagram. I just had to take a little break. You know what I'm saying? I have some family things I'm going through, but I love you. Unconditional love. I got love for you. Unconditional love. So shout out to the whole family over there. So this is the perfect perspective, bro. This is the perfect perspective, man. Let me get a banner up here, man. Let me get a banner up here, man. Let's get a banner up here. Let's get a banner up here on the perfect perspective, man. And we're going to get into this. Shout out to my brother. Anybody share the video, man. Anybody, shout out to Alonzo Hall, man. You know, when you start seeing people's name, they magically pop up in this YouTube world. I don't know if YouTube sends a notification to them, but like one day I was sending props to Voice You, and I was talking about Voice You being so beautiful on her Instagram page when she went on vacation in the bikini, and she talked about doing a calendar, and I was like, wow, man. Like, I love confident women that know she's beautiful and sexy. And it's like, I'm gonna do a calendar. Like, shit, I know like niggas look at me and I'm proud of, what God blessed me with. I was like, wow, man. Like, so check out Voice You and Sage Never Ran and Sage Gemini in the morning. And they got a beautiful morning show, and Voice You is hella beautiful. I'm telling you, like, Voice You my YouTube crush. Cause I be listening to you so closely and watching you so closely. You're so beautiful and so inspirational. And I remember she was talking a story the other day about going to the doctor before she had gone through her weight loss, and the doctor telling her about that her booty was too big. And my mind just started racing. So shout out Voice You, man. So congratulations on your weight loss and all your health and all your positivity and all your blessings with your job. And that's another thing about stoicism and like being made in the fire. Like, who would know that Voice you would just look at her and think she always been this person. Like, some women might see her and be like, oh, I wish I had her body type, and I wish I was so positive like her, and not know what she went through. Like, she talked about her back being injured and being overweight, and really building this. She built her actually, like, when I say built, like, she talked about her father teaching her how to use a hammer and nails, and like really building her studio and really building her platform, and like physically and literally building this shit. So Voice You, shout out to you. You an inspiration, man. And shout out to Rose Gold and Lazo, and unconditional love for the follow on Instagram and the support. My brother, so I said that because I probably just want Voice You to come by and say hi, because it seems like YouTube, when you say somebody's name, may shout them out. But I was trying to get YouTube to send a bird call to Alonzo because I want Alonzo to come through and join the panel and talk about this good shit. I need to get Alonzo number for a couple different reasons, but this speaks to the heart, like on my court format. Like, so they wrapping up the Kim Porter jury, so we're gonna be able to go into opening statements next week probably. So that's gonna be that's gonna be riveting. We're gonna definitely keep up with that because that's one of the most focal points of the country right now as far as cases that's actually being with the camera inside. So I got some updates with Jesse Smollett, so we're gonna keep you updated on Jesse Smollett and Ghislaine. And this case right here gonna be wrapping up. So this is the end of this case. So before I was gonna show the last two juries being picked for the Kim Porter trial, I came across this case and there was some live footage. So we're gonna show the husband, the physician's assistant testimony. So the reason why I wanted to show this case because it hits home on so many points. I worked in healthcare for 15 years. Alonzo Hall is my good brother, and he taught me so much about life insurance. And we've talked a lot of times about cases like this, and it's things like this I think that are intriguing to us and make us excited about learning and knowing more about life insurance, right? Being more well versed about life insurance. So that's why I thought this would be a great story. So I'm just adjusting a couple things here, y'all. So I got some video backstory, but I want to show this because I thought this would be a good lead into the story. Like maybe if Alonzo Hall was flipping through YouTube, because we flip through YouTube like channels, he might see this and want to jump up. So this is let's read a little backstory so you understand. So this is about a gentleman named William Argie. He's a physician assistant. He was nicknamed Doc. So the headline here is prosecutors man killed wife for $400,000 policy in Londonderry. Okay, so prosecutors tried to convict William Argie, 48, of killing his wife last year, are building their case on a broken marriage and a murder for hire attempt. Wow, it's like it remind me of like Spencer for Hire or some like ABC movie. Like literally, it's like an ABC movie, right? On a broken marriage, substantial troubles according to the new court documents. The documents request that a judge allow certain evidence at trial, including personal details about William Argie's life with the victim, his wife of 13 years, Maureen. Police publicly identified Maureen's age 41, so young, man. So that's cold. And if you see the picture, I'm gonna show she was gorgeous, man. Soon after finding her strangled to death, April 4th, 2019, in a Londonderry home she shared with her husband and two young children, a boy and a girl. I think these were his kids too, man. Her husband was arrested 2 months later, eventually charged with purposeful first-degree murder. Now, pay attention to the charges. We've been talking about charges in all of these cases. Charges, jury questions, and jury instructions. Her husband, William Argie, pled not guilty to all charges, right? Details of the case remain largely hidden from the public, viewed in sealed court documents. However, senior assistant attorney and assistant attorney wrote in recent unsealed documents about Argie's imminent divorce and deepening financial troubles. Not only was there talk of divorce, according to prosecutors, but Maureen consulted a divorce lawyer, made plans with friends and family members to sell the Londonderry home and plan to live with children apart from her husband. Wow. Prosecutors argue that Maureen was afraid of her husband, who knew about the impending separation. So she bragged, never, that's 48 laws of power, y'all. 48 laws of power, man. You never outshine the master. You never tell him what you're going to do. Man, come on, man. Y'all got to watch the Perfect Timing podcast, man. Come on, man. Pay attention, baby girl. As proof, they want a judge to allow evidence of a 5-minute recorded phone call between Maureen and Londonderry police officer March 30 of a police officer 5 days before she was killed. During the call, she expressed concerns about her husband, noting that the situation within him was tense. Ooh, tense, you guys. What else she said? She made the call in order to ensure that the emergency line to the police was operational in case something happens, in order to protect herself. You should have got up out of there and got a gun. Don't make a phone call to make sure the line was open and then go to sleep. This real. This is an ABC movie, y'all. This is an ABC movie. 2 days later, April 1st, 2019, she said she had to express similar worry to her father. She called the police, then called her father. Man, specifically that her husband was monitoring her cell phone. Prosecutors go on in court documents to describe William as a gambling addict whose family was unsuccessful in investing a year before Maureen was killed. Court paperwork says the day after his wife Maureen, Argie was tracked down in a casino in Connecticut where he was found gambling after a suicide attempt. Man, prosecutors believe his deepening financial crisis leading up to the incidents in question are relevant. They say William lost his longtime job as a PA and was unable to find consistent employment to pay off mounting debts. He was being chased by creditors and was on the verge of filing personal bank. What's wrong with that? Prosecutors say William was motivated to kill his wife for a $400,000 life insurance policy. Guess what? Which he was the sole beneficiary, man. What is... Alonzo Wall, where you at, boy? Man, you got to do this story, man. Go ahead, pick this up, man. Because y'all not going to believe this is real, but we're going to go to the actual courtroom. We're going to show this man on the stand today. This is the perfect perspective. My name is Perfect Timing, simulcasting live on 3 channels right now. I'm on StreamCard, simulcasting live, StreamYard, simulcasting live on 3 locations. I am on Perfect Timing Podcast and Perfect Timing Podcast Live. That is the backup YouTube channel. You must subscribe now. Yes, you should. And I'm also live on Facebook under Patrick Potter, so fly. Thank you to all my Facebook watchers. Somebody watching me on Facebook right now. I know y'all love me. According to Timbers, William Argie would complain about his wife and their relationship when gambling, as well as he hated her and wanted to get rid of her. He claims that several weeks before Maureen was found dead, he offered and shared wife's insurance policy if he helped kill her. This is Fargo. According to Timbus, William Argie said, I'm done with her. I'm going to explicitive, what's her name, her, and I'm going to collect the money. When Timbus said he wouldn't help, he was offered a smaller amount of money to find a hitman to commit the crime. When Timbus said he also declined. What? All attorneys involved in the case are, oh man, that's just a little backstory, man. That's just a little backstory, man. Hard to believe, man. You wouldn't believe it, man. You would think this was a TV movie, man. He killed. Let's go to the openings. What y'all want to go to? I got some opening statements. I got some background. What you want to go to? Let's go. Look, y'all want to go to? I just read something. Let's go to these. Let's go to these interviews of these. Let's go to these interviews. Let's see what these interviews got going for us, man. We're gonna do the backstory, and then we're gonna go to the courtroom. We're gonna do the backstory, and then we're gonna go to the courtroom. Because it's courtroom, perfect perspective all day. Courtroom, perfect perspective all day. Fair use in the building. Fair use in the building. Fair use and fair play for commentary all day. Fair use and fair play for commentary all day. How y'all doing today, man? Share the stream like my brother Rose Gold did. It don't cost you shit. It don't cost you shit.
State of his marriage to Maureen, whom he's accused of murdering. Let's bring Lisa Lockwood back in to discuss this. Lisa, I always find it interesting when a family member testifies against another family member. Obviously she is being asked about things she observed in the marriage, but still interesting nonetheless that she's testifying for the prosecution.
She loves her brother. She loved her sister-in-law. She loves the children that they have together. And she's basically coming forward just to admit everything that she witnessed. She did speak to the police about his behavior. She had a hard time remembering certain things that she said that put her brother in a bad light on the stand. And fortunately, she was refreshed. I mean, you could see she's breaking down. It's a horrible thing. She does not have a sister-in-law anymore, and potentially her brother will be in jail for the rest of his life. So I wouldn't wish that on anyone.
Family members always, caught in the middle of these things. It's awful. Very sad testimony from William Argie's sister, testifying about a woman she considered a friend, Maureen Argie, her sister-in-law. So let's bring Lisa Lockwood back in to discuss this. Lisa, this certainly doesn't seem to help the defense claim that Maureen was suicidal. She loved her children. She was an attentive mother, those types of things.
Yes, and even earlier in her statement, as she was being examined, she mentioned the fact that she started to take a turn and feel more elated that the divorce was, going through and it was almost over and they were getting rid of things within the house. And she kind of had turned a leaf regarding having a new start herself. So that's the last contact that she had with her sister-in-law. So there was no indication at all that she was suicidal or would ever leave her children and kill herself.
We're going to look at some more of her testimony under direct examination. And she discussed an intervention of sorts that the family had with her brother, William. And that was Kelly Hobbs, the sister of William Argie, talking about this intervention that Maureen had staged along with the other family members to talk to William about getting help for mental health issues, gambling addiction, things like that. And William Argie was not very happy about it. So Lisa Lockwood, let's discuss this for a minute. William Argie sounds like a guy who may be very quick to anger and have maybe some issues here, some mental health issues. We saw him kind of in that rambling speech before in front of the court.
Yes, and I was hoping to learn a little bit more about that we would get more information regarding his mental health. Aside from having an addiction to gambling, we know that they were in couples counseling and therapy, but what other mental health issues were there? As you mentioned, is it quick to anger? What was causing him to have the addiction to gambling? What else was there that was existing that could have caused him to potentially snap and kill his wife?
Yeah, hopefully we'll learn more about that during the defense case. Maybe they will bring up some issues of mental health, but maybe not, since they're claiming this wasn't a homicide, that they're saying it was a suicide. So we'll have to wait and see as the trial unfolds. And that was Dan LaRochelle, a friend of William Argie, I'm assuming a former friend now, talking about some of the things that William Argie had told him. And Lisa Lockwood, I'm going to bring you back in because you can see why William Argie was, upset if he felt like his attorneys didn't challenge this testimony enough on cross-examination, because it seems pretty damning.
It really does. I mean, this is the first point we're hearing where he talked about actually killing his now deceased wife. Prior to that, one thing I did find interesting, and I think which would have benefited the defense if they said something along the lines of, it almost seems like his friend instigated it, saying, what are you going to do? She's going to take half of everything. And all of a sudden the statement was, well, I'll take care of her. I'll find somebody to kill her. So for me, that kind of response was an instigation on his end. And could it have just been a flippant response to that moment and being angry in that moment?
Yeah, and it seems really bad, really inconvenient in the fact that he said, well, it's almost like he did encourage the idea. Obviously, I'm sure he didn't mean to, but he certainly it probably didn't help matters, these comments. There was some cross-examination, though, of Dan LaRochelle. So let's listen to what the defense attorneys asked him about on cross. So, let's bring Lisa Lockwood back in. Lisa, I can see why William Argie was not really pleased with that cross-examination, because it didn't really seem to help him or to discredit or call into question anything that he testified to on direct examination.
Right. There were so many pieces that could have been brought forward. He said the relationship wasn't good for 3 to 5 years, and he was aware of that. So in that 3 to 5 years that he had knowledge that he wanted to leave and his wife didn't want to go with him, who else did he tell about the alleged hiring somebody or somebody offing his wife? Who else can corroborate that story? I would want to know. And why wouldn't he tell Maureen, especially if it was a mental health issue? And this is his friend who potentially can kill somebody because of that. Why did he not tell anybody? And I do believe the defense did drop the ball in that regard in defending their client.
It really seemed like there were other things that they could have explored on cross-examination. I think it's interesting, though, when we hear about things like this in testimony, it's almost like they try to blame the person testifying. Well, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. I mean, this is the guy's friend. He may not have legitimately thought that William Argie would actually go through with any of this, these threats to hire somebody to kill his wife, or maybe he thought he was just blowing off steam.
True. And when it was said, it was in the moment of him kind of enticing him and making the statement, what's going to happen if she doesn't go? You'll make double the money, and you'll have to give half of it. So he was kind of feeding the fire and feeding the rage. And do people flippantly say things like that? Yes. Do a lot of people make threats they never go through on? Yes. So I think that's why it was important for the defense attorney to talk about that. Who can corroborate that story? Why didn't you tell anybody? And it would have been a perfect opportunity to save face and to appease their clients in regards to that. I would like.
Wow. So just more detail from outside the courtroom. We about to go inside the courtroom. We're going to get some more feedback from baby girl, but just to give you more background before, because we haven't watched this whole case. We're just going to watch the end of the case, but just to give you some background of the case, let's look at the description. So you understand what's happening here. William Argie is a physician assistant who was accused of murdering his wife for a $400,000 life insurance policy. We talked a lot on this panel about different life insurance policies and about how the power of life insurance. So I thought this would be a great story because of what is being talked about and why they said that this took place. Because we want to drive attention toward life insurance and people getting life insurance. So just a little bit more background. The New Hampshire Department of Justice has said he either strangled or smothered her both. Okay. The story of a New Hampshire man on trial for the alleged murder of his wife is the story of a disheartening marriage and a gambling addiction. Man, jurors will decide if William Argie, 49, killed Maureen Argie, 41, at their home in the town of Londonderry on April 4th, 2019. The New Hampshire Department of Justice has said that he either strangled her or smothered her or both. Money and hate marked the alleged motive. Defendant Argie, who had a son and daughter with Maureen, so those were her kids, you guys. Wow. This is some cold shit. Money and hate marked the alleged motive. Defendant Argie, who had a son and daughter with Maureen, who is dead now, was the only beneficiary of a $400,000 life insurance policy on her. Prosecutors said in the Derry News he faced increasing debts which he could not pay after her losing his job as a physician assistant and being unable to maintain consistent work, prosecutors said. On top of that, he was a gambling addict and his family was unable to intervene the year before the murder, authorities said. Wow. So that's just a little backstory so we understand what we dealing with, man. This guy, according to prosecution, this is the story. Now, this is not what the defense is saying. This is what the prosecution is saying. So this right here is opening statements from the prosecution. Fair use is in play. So I just want to give us more background and context before we get into the testimony from old boy.
He murdered his wife. He suffocated her, squeezed the life out of her, while she lay defenseless, helpless in bed. He murdered his children's mother while they slept right down the hall. He took Maureen's life, the person whom he blamed for all of his problems. During this trial, the defendant's family, friends, and gambling associates will tell you about the miserable place the defendant put himself. Although the defendant proudly presented himself as a physician's assistant, he was unwilling and unable to maintain steady employment. His bank account was in the negative. His truck, he was behind on payments and was facing a potential repossession. And he talked about filing for bankruptcy. But instead of working and contributing to his family, the defendant took money away from them to do what he loved to do, gamble. The defendant was a frequent gambler, losing his family's money at the poker table day after day, week after week, borrowing money from gambling associates to keep his game going even after he already lost his family's money. At the casino, the defendant, otherwise known as Doc, spent his time playing cards and blaming Maureen for his issues, about how she didn't make enough money, about how she was ugly, about how she was holding him back, about all the problems he was having with her. Complaints he also voiced time and again to his friends and family. And one of his gambling associates, Jamie Timbus, will tell you about the defendant's verbalized hatred of Maureen and his wish that she was dead. He will tell you that the defendant not only talked about wanting Maureen dead, but he tried to put that plan into action in February 2019, less than 2 months before her murder. The defendant set up a meeting and there asked Mr. Timbus to kill Maureen with him or find someone to kill Maureen. He talked about reaping the benefits of ridding himself of his wife by getting her life insurance policy. And the defendant said he wanted it to look like a suicide. Mr. Timbus said no. He rejected the defendant's offer. After Mr. Timbus learned of Maureen's death, he went to the police. But back in February, like all the other people to whom the defendant expressed his hatred and his displeasure with Maureen, and to whom the defendant told about his desire to strike out against his wife, Mr. Timbus didn't think that the defendant would actually go through with his threats. However, following the defendant's attempted solicitation of Mr. Timbus to kill his wife, in the weeks before her murder, the defendant's anger and resentment toward Maureen intensified. You will hear from the defendant's family and friends about the hateful things he said about Maureen. how he thought she was holding him back, how she didn't make enough money, how he wouldn't pay child support if she left, how he blamed her for all of his problems. And at the end of March 2019, Maureen decided to leave the defendant behind and begin a new life without him. She told the defendant that she wanted a divorce. She outlined her plans to move out and sell their Londonderry home through emails to friends and family, enlisting their help to make the change as smooth as possible for her children. She emailed and texted back and forth with her support system during the days before her murder, making specific plans for the upcoming weekend, April 6th and 7th, and the following weekend. On April 3rd, 2019, the day before her murder, Maureen interviewed for a promotion at work, a new job where she could continue doing what she loved, but would make more money to support herself and her children. And later on April 3rd, Maureen discussed her planned living arrangements in person with the defendant's sister, Karen Argie, who was also Maureen's friend, and the defendant's mother. The plan was for Maureen to take their children to live in Manchester with the defendant's mother. The defendant, on the other hand, he was also talking about his living arrangements on April 3rd. But instead of making the plans, he was being told the plan. That he would be living alone without his children, hours away in Maine at his mother's vacation home. And he wasn't happy about that. And to him, there was only one person to blame for that. And the very next day, the defendant murdered Maureen by asphyxiating her, forcibly cutting off her oxygen supply while she laid in her bed. During the course of this trial, you will hear about what the defendant did after he murdered Maureen, some of which was pieced together from surveillance videos, records, receipts, and phone records. First, after the defendant murdered Maureen, he had to deal with his kids. The defendant's children, Ella and Gavin, were 9 and 6 years old at the time of their mother's murder. During this investigation, they were interviewed at the Child Advocacy Center by an interviewer trained in speaking with children. You will hear a portion of those interviews during this trial. And you will hear that when the defendant's children woke up on April 4th, 2019 for school, the defendant told them that their mother was sleeping, that she wasn't feeling well, that they needed to leave her alone, and that they could not touch her. But his daughter Ella opened her parents' bedroom door and saw her mother, unbeknownst to her, already dead, laying in bed with her hair blending in with the bedding. The defendant then sent the kids off on the school bus, and you will see the school bus video from that morning. The kids had with them the defendant's handwritten note for their teachers, instructing that his mother, Brenda Quinn, would be picking them up from school. At At the end of the day, when no one showed up to pick up his 2 children, the after-school staff called Ms. Quinn, someone who rarely, if ever, picked the children up from school. You will see the video of Ms. Quinn picking the kids up from school. Surprised, confused, and seemingly unaware of the arrangement. After sending the kids to school while their mother lay dead just down the hall, the defendant tried to escape the consequences of what he did by attempting suicide. You will see the surveillance video from the neighbor's security camera showing him leave the house that morning. You will then see surveillance video and a receipt from Home Depot where the defendant went and bought razors. The neighbor's camera then shows him returning. And when he got home with razors in hand, he slit his wrists. But he failed. He didn't kill himself. You will see pictures of the bloody trail he left behind from that failed attempt. So the defendant bandaged up his injuries. He took care of himself. He showed concern for himself. But he showed no concern for Maureen. For Maureen, he left her to rot in her bed. And after he took her life, he took her car, and he took her phone, and drove away, free from the person whom he blamed for all of his problems. He fled. No calls for help, no calls to family. And where did he go? His cell phone records assist in painting that picture. You will see maps from the records recovered during the investigation documenting that while Maureen lay dead at 118 West Road in Londonderry, her phone left that residence and continued connecting with cell phone towers all the way down to the Nashua area. And just as Maureen's phone was in the Nashua area, so too was the defendant's phone. And when he took her phone, he took with it all of the messages that he sent to Maureen in the weeks leading up to her murder. So while you will hear about all of the terrible things the defendant said about Maureen behind her back, you are deprived of seeing what he said directly to Maureen. And while Maureen's phone stopped in the Nashua area, the maps will show that the defendant's phone continued south. During his trip, the defendant took some time to reply to a text message from a potential employer, providing his middle initial for paperwork. And eventually, he reached his ultimate destination, where he was later found by the police.
I think she did a good job arguing the opening statements. What do you guys think? Let me know in the chat. Let's go and see what his testimony live from the courtroom. Perfect timing, the perfect perspective, Courtroom TV, rocking out with your boy. Thank you for rocking with your boy.
Maybe she is. Attorney Nye or Attorney Pervin done? Thank you. Sir, do you solemnly swear in the testimony you're about to provide this court and jury shall be the truth under the pains and penalties of perjury?
I do, Your Honor.
Thank you. Please be seated. And if you would state your full name for our court reporter.
My full name is William Allen Argie Jr.
Thank you.
And Mr. Argie, is it okay to address you as Bill during your testimony?
It is, ma'am.
Bill, let's cut right to it. Did you murder your wife, Maureen Argie?
I did not, ma'am.
Bill, I want to talk with you about Wednesday, April 3rd, 2019. This is the day before Maureen's body was found by police. Were you working that day?
I was not.
And did your children have school that day?
They did.
And who picked them up from school?
I did.
And did you pick them up from school or from the after school, from the YMCA after school program?
I picked them up from the after-school YMCA program.
And about what time do you think you picked them up?
Approximately 4:30, 4:35.
And when you picked them up from school, did you go straight home or did you go someplace else?
No, we went to Let's Play Music as my daughter Ella had piano lessons that evening.
Okay. Did you bring both Gavin and Ella to piano lessons?
I did.
And where did you all go after Ella's piano lesson?
We went through the drive-through of McDonald's, and then after that, we went home.
What did you do after you got home?
The kids usually are able to talk me into watching some cartoons or TV.
Okay.
So Gavin was able to do that. I addressed Ella if she had any homework, and I made sure, as she likes to embellish sometimes, that she doesn't, but she did not. So we were able to enjoy some TV time.
And was Maureen home when you all came home from McDonald's?
She was not.
What time do you remember Maureen coming home that night?
My wife came home approximately a little before 8 o'clock.
Great. And what time do Gavin and Ella go to bed usually?
It can fluctuate sometimes, but usually around 8.
And who usually puts the kids to bed?
Again, that can fluctuate sometimes, but usually I do, because they usually like to have a story read. Not that Maureen doesn't do that, but on the nights that when I do work, Maureen would do that, but they cherish the times when I'm there to read, so I did that evening.
Okay. So on that particular night, on April 3rd, you put the kids to bed?
I did.
Walk me through what bedtime routine looks like at your house.
Sometimes it's a struggle, but that night, Maureen did come home before they had gone to bed, so they were able to speak with Maureen and say their good nights. They go and brush their teeth, go to the bathroom, put their pajamas on, and then usually they get piggyback rides from me to bring them upstairs, and then we bring them up. They each get to pick out one book and then I would read that story to them.
And did Gavin and Ella share a room, or did they have their own bedrooms?
They share a room.
And so what time do you think you left Gavin and Ella to go to bed in their rooms that night?
If I had to guess, probably around 8:30.
So around 8:30, after putting the kids to bed, where did you go?
I went back downstairs.
Okay. And what did you do when you got downstairs?
Maureen was down there. I talked to her for a few minutes and asked how her day was. She had gone to my mother's that evening. That's how the meeting was there. I think it was a stressful conversation for both of us.
Did you know why she had been at your mother's that evening?
Yeah, I found out a couple of days before that when I had gone out with my mother for lunch, that Maureen was coming over to discuss potentially moving him.
She was discussing Maureen moving into your mother's house?
Correct.
So at that time, on April 3rd, did you know that Maureen was planning to divorce you?
I did.
Okay. How long had you known that?
The actual date she told me was March 25th.
Okay. When Maureen told you on March 25th that she had decided to ask for a divorce, were you surprised?
I was not.
And what was your overall reaction when she told you that news?
Inside, I was disappointed, but it was early in the morning. There really wasn't much time to really talk, as she still had to go to work. The kids were still in the house, and I needed to get them ready for the bus ride. I don't know if it's hard to say relieved, but I just said, okay.
Now you said that initial conversation was March 25th.
Correct.
Had you and Maureen had a chance to discuss the divorce further between March 25th and April 3rd?
Yeah, there'd be intermittent times. Sometimes she would bring it up. Usually rare. Usually I was the one. It was hard, as others has testified, and I very well know she's a very quiet person. And sometimes it's just hard to get information out of her.
Okay. Now, you heard testimony that in the days before April 3rd, Maureen and some family members have been packing up her belongings.
Yeah, she had, I think the weekend before, she had told me a few days before that Saturday that she was gonna bring some stuff to Cindy's, her friend, and I said that might be a good idea. The morning of, she was going to use the family vehicle, the Murano, which didn't make sense to me as it's a SUV and a hatchback, where I had a pickup truck that had obviously some more room. So I convinced her to use the pickup truck, which at least made me feel a little better that it would be a little easier for her.
Okay.
I did offer, but to help her, but she wanted to do it on her own.
Okay. And at that time, before April 3rd, did you know that Maureen was planning to bring the children with her when she did leave the Londonderry home?
I didn't know, but there was possibly the possibility that she was trying to go that route.
Okay. Okay. During the state's case, you saw some text messages between yourself and your mother, Brenda, that were
Correct.
sent on April 3rd in the morning.
Correct.
And in those texts, you had mentioned that your mother was opening up her home to Maureen and your children.
Correct.
How did you feel about that?
Initially, I was a little upset. We had gone out to lunch. I don't know if it was the day before or 2 days before, and briefly had talked about it because that's when I believe she had told me that Maureen might be.
Objection, hearsay.
I can raise the question.
Okay, thank you.
You described yourself
Actually,
as,
while we're taking a evidentiary break, I'm wondering if we should, the podium was moved for a reason, if we could move it back where it was during the balance of this. That might make sense. Thank you. In between the tables is fine. Thank you. I say that just because I know Mr. Argie's been turning to face you to answer questions, and it might be more helpful if he's facing the jury more. Thank you.
so you described yourself as feeling a little bit upset that your mother was opening her home to Maureen. Were you hurt by that decision?
I was. I think any child might initially.
So I want to go back to April 3rd. The text messages we were just discussing were from that morning. I want to go back to April 3rd after you put Gavin and Ella to bed. You said that you came back downstairs and you and Maureen started to talk. What was the tone of that conversation? What was the tone of that conversation?
There was a little tension.
A little bit of tension?
I think it was kind of, if I could describe it as, for both of us, it was like walking on eggshells.
And so generally, what was after you and Maureen spoke about your days, how things have been, what was the general topic?
I don't believe he testified as to that.
Well, it'll be for the jury to determine that.
When you came downstairs, what was the topic of conversation with Maureen generally?
It was about, we briefly talked about the divorce, and also we talked about the meeting that I had the night before at AFC.
Okay.
I was concerned about her. That when I got home from that meeting, it was well past the kids' bedtime. And the kids were still up. She was laying down on the couch. She was awake. I brought the kids to bed and talked to her and said, there's a potential that it looks like could go to another location with AFC in the form of the new owner that was taking over the operations, although the current owners in AFC and Methuen and Andover were still staying as owners.
Okay. So you and Maureen discussed your work meeting from the night before.
Yep.
And you said you discussed the divorce a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me a little bit about that conversation, the conversation you and Maureen had about the divorce.
I think it started off talking about with regards to my mom and how I believe I asked if, what exactly was going to happen, as that's the house I grew up in. So I know how many bedrooms there are. And my sister and niece were currently living there.
Okay.
So I kind of was concerned with how the living arrangements were going to be. They quite haven't figured that out, but that's how it started off. And then it turned more to saying that we loved each other. That we would always love each other, but that it just felt like we had grown apart. And it became emotional, tearful. I think after saying, those, terms of endearment and love, we held each other. And she said again that she always loves me, but it doesn't change the fact that I still want a divorce.
Fair to say, the initial tone of this conversation was sad. I think you described it as tearful.
Yeah.
Did the emotional tone of the conversation change at any point?
It did.
Okay. How
It did.
so?
I think at that point, up to this point, I didn't know by whom she was getting ideas or emotional help or suggestions from. If it's her family, then that's fine. I would hope so. I know that we did try therapy, and if I can use the phrase, I mean, that was a complete bust. Maureen was very quiet and non-instrumental in those meetings.
In therapy.
In therapy. So the tone, I think at that point, I felt like she was giving up too early
Giving up on the marriage?
on the marriage.
Okay.
At that point, there'd been a couple talks of some ideas that she wanted. We had talked about selling the house, and I was okay with that. We had talked, or she had said that she was going to try to sell the Murano. I didn't really have any comment for that at the time. You know, she had obviously talked about moving in, you know, that discussion with the, that evening with my mother. I think at that point, I looked at her and said, you have a plan, or it seems like you have a plan. But those plans, a lot of them determine on my authorization also. If we sell the house, we can put it on the market, but we both have to agree on the selling price. Selling of the Murano, she drove it. However, it was purchased by me, and also registered to me. And I said, in order for that to be sold, that needs to be authorized by me. I said, as far as I'm concerned with regards to my mother, if my mother was staying, I would think that would be a good option, but my mother is not staying. You will be moving in with my sister and her daughter, which, and that sister was Karen Argie, which Karen has been the child that we have been concerned about. My mother has been caring for her for many years financially. She's been engaged twice, and the marriage never happened.
So were you uncomfortable with Maureen?
I was uncomfortable with the living arrangements with my sister Karen. That is something that I would have, if a divorce came, that I definitely would have had an objection to.
Okay.
And then I had known about some pictures taken of one of the places that I gambled at, of the parking lot that was on our joint computer. And I also had seen my mother come in at one time to look up on me, so I know that's something that Maureen obviously was. I told her that I valued the caring, but that she never verbally really directly addressed it with me. She always did indirect or to family members. So I said, so I'm sure you have evidence of my addiction. I took out my phone. I showed her pictures of 2 wine bottles from Saturday night. I said, what is that? I also questioned her about the second after the meeting where I can't confirm if she fell asleep or passed out while I'm trying to tell her that I might be able to financially help with things, divorce or not. I said, you want to go there, it looks like you have a drinking problem. So if we present this in front of a judge, gambling's an addiction. Alcohol is an addiction. I told her I highly doubt that a judge is going to hand 2 kids to an alcoholic.
So you told Maureen that in order to sell the house, she would need your authorization. In order to sell the car, she would need your authorization. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you told her that you didn't believe a judge would give her full custody of the children. Is that correct?
Correct.
After you said these things to Maureen, what happened next?
Um, I think I was just annoyed with how things just went, and overwhelmed that, I left the room, went downstairs to our finished basement and, was gonna watch, some TV, but, I had realized actually the cellar door was open. As I had done some work on the back steps. So went out, forgot that I had left some equipment out there. Took care of that. I decided to take a walk after that.
Do you remember about what time it was that you left the basement door and went outside?
Sometime after 11 o'clock.
And how long were you out on your walk?
Walked around the block, I'd probably say 20 minutes max.
So after this 20-minute walk, did you come back home?
I did.
And which door did you use to go inside?
I used the cellar door as I had left it open.
So after coming in through the cellar door, where did you go inside the house?
Went back upstairs to the living room where Maureen and I were talking.
Okay. And was Maureen still there?
She was not.
Okay. Did you go upstairs to check on her or speak with her more?
I did, and I figured she went to bed. And for approximately a few years, I had been sleeping on the couch. Not necessarily because of marital things, more because of I have sleeping difficulties from whether it be job related, working nights or so usually I would, instead of having to wake up Maureen, I usually just slept downstairs sometimes.
And so where did you sleep that night on April 3rd?
I slept on the couch.
Did you go upstairs to change clothes before you went to bed?
Unfortunately, a lot of people make fun of me, but I usually just, I had a warm-up suit on, so I usually just go to bed in my attire that I wear, so that's what I wore.
Okay. So I want to talk with you now about the following morning, April 4th. What time do you think you woke up that morning?
I woke up a little before 7 o'clock.
A little before 7? Were you the first one in the house to wake up?
I believe I was.
And was that typical or was that unusual?
It varied, but it's not unusual for that to happen.
And so when you woke up on the couch downstairs, where did you go?
I did my normal routine, went to the bathroom. Brushed my teeth, stuff like that. Then proceeded upstairs to kind of nudge the kids. They are definitely not morning people. They need encouraging. So the sooner you start that process. And wake them up. I went back downstairs to get things ready for the kids. I was not working that day, so I knew that I would be putting them on bus and getting lunches ready and stuff like that. So I started that process. Usually the cellar doors open. Initially I didn't notice that, but after I did, notice that it wasn't. And that's because usually Maureen might go down and work out. I just checked on it. And I must have left the light on the night before. So I went downstairs. I didn't hear the treadmill. We have a treadmill downstairs. I went down. Stairs and didn't see her. Looked in the pantry to make sure she hadn't already done her workout. She wasn't there. I said, okay, well, she just slept in, but you know, it's starting to get late. She wasn't in the shower because I'd already gone up to wake up the kids. So I went back upstairs and went back in to just nudge them real quick. They still weren't awake, even after trying to wake them up. Went into our, proceeded into our bedroom.
I know this made it difficult though, but what did you see when you went into your bedroom?
I saw my wife with a bed sheet around her neck. And jammed between her nightstand and her in the bed. And
How was her body positioned?
she was cocked to the right.
Was she lying down? Was she seated up?
She was kind of don't know how to describe it. She was not in a full seating position. I believe that if the nightstand wasn't there, that she would have fell to the ground.
You said she was in between the bed and the nightstand?
Yes.
There was an empty space between the bed and the nightstand? And you said there was a sheet wrapped around her neck. Where was the other end of that sheet?
Wrapped around the post of our bed set.
And when you saw that, what did you do?
I went to her. I went to her immediately. I shut her door. I picked her up. Took the sheet off her. I laid her down. Initially, I checked for her pulse. She didn't have a pulse. I gave her 2 rescue breaths as she wasn't breathing.
When you say you laid her down, where did you lay her?
On the bed.
Why did you do that? Why did you move Maureen's body from between the nightstand and the bed to on the bed?
I was afraid that if my kids ever saw that, they could never see that. That this was and I just held her and cried.
Did you call 911?
No,
Why not?
Again, I knew Maureen was deceased at that time. And I was worried about the kids, seeing all this. And the potential of being in the medical field. I've had to call 911 for patients before. And the response is anybody and everybody. It's very much needed at times. Sometimes it's not, but they don't know. So they send everybody and anybody.
So you were worried about the kids seeing Maureen, right? You were also worried about them seeing police cars, ambulances, fire engines. So yes.
Yes.
So what did you do next?
At that point, I did hear commotion in my kids' room. At that point, I knew that they were possibly getting up. So I walked out of the room and shut the door and attended to my kids.
You said you attended to your kids, and we know from video that they got onto the school bus that morning. Walk me through what it meant to attend to your kids, to get them ready to be put on the school bus.
So they get up, they do their routine. They pretty much know their routine. We have a sign on the bathroom wall that, kind of 1 through 10. When they get through number 10 and they eat their breakfast, then they're allowed to do whatever they want for free time. So I told them to do that, but prior to that, I told them to not to go into our bedroom, that mommy was sleeping.
Now, you saw that a note was found in Gavin's backpack that said that your mother, Brenda, would be picking the children up from school.
I did.
Did you write that note?
I did.
And had you told your mother that she was going to be picking the kids up from school that day?
I did not.
Was that was not already planned, that your mother would be picking them up?
It was not.
And so in that moment, why did you write that note and leave it in Gavin's bag?
I'm not really sure why I wrote that. I think being in shock, not really knowing what the next step that was going to be taken.
Okay. And about what time did you get Gavin and Ella onto the school bus?
That day I wouldn't be able to, but normally the school bus would come anywhere between 8:25 and 8:35. So it was probably around that time.
I do have quite a bit more direct. Would the court like to break for lunch now, or? Let me
Sure,
take another
this is a fine time to break. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Argie, why don't you first take your seat back with your counsel? Thank you. And so, ladies and gentlemen, it's 1:15. If you could be back at 1:15, we'll resume the trial at that point. Thank you so much.
All right.
Okay, anybody else set? Okay, thank you.
I'm just saying, okay.
Back home.
You were back home? Okay. And did you indeed try to kill yourself when you got back home?
I did.
And where in the house did you do that?
Upstairs in the bedroom.
Upstairs in the bedroom? So how did you try to kill yourself upstairs in the bedroom?
I cut both wrists vertically.
So after cutting both wrists, what did you do?
Laid down next to Maureen. I held her. I said, if this is the way we're going to go, then we're going to do it together.
Did you leave a note for anyone to find? At some point, though, you did wake up, right?
I did.
When you woke up, were you surprised?
It was.
And what did you do when you woke up?
I realized what I'd done, but in trying to cut my wrist, I went into the bathroom and tried to attend to the wounds.
Will you take some very long pauses in your testimony? What's up with pauses?
This isn't easy.
This isn't easy.
It's this might be 2 years for some people, but it feels like it was yesterday for me.
So after getting up, you said attending to your wounds, did you decide to leave the house again?
Prior to that, I went back into the room and saw Maureen again and attempted to take my life again.
Attempted to take your life again, how?
I recut the areas.
But again, clearly that did not work. So then what?
I woke. At that point saw all the blood. Saw my wife. Just feeling overwhelmed. Didn't really know what to do. Felt like it. I just couldn't think, do anything. I needed to get out of there.
And so did you get out of there?
I did.
Did you bring anything with you?
I did.
What did you bring with you?
I brought the knife that I had cut myself with,
Anything else?
the sheet that Maureen hung herself with.
Why did you bring that?
When I took it off, I just thrown it on the floor. It was more of just grabbing things.
So did you put it into a bag?
I did.
What else did you put into that bag?
I had Maureen's cell phone and my phone.
Why did you bring Maureen's cell phone in addition to your own?
When I found Maureen, it was plugged in and left on the nightstand next door.
Okay. But why did you bring it with you?
I don't know if I just thought maybe answers.
You thought maybe there would be answers on the phone?
Answers if somebody would call. Answers if I could find something on her phone that might give me we had talked about her getting some emails and calls in the past. That had flashed through my mind as to what was going on with that. I think just grabbing everything.
Did you bring anything else with you? Did you pack a bag with your phones, the sheet, the knife? Did you bring anything else with you?
think I grabbed a pair of just pants that might have been next to a bag.
And so with this bag, did you walk out of the house
I did.
and you got into one of the cars? Is that right?
I did.
Which car did you decide to take?
I took the Murano.
And why take the Murano and not your pickup truck?
There was some financial problems with the truck in the sense that there may be a possibility of repossession. But the Murano was our family car. It reminded me of Maureen, everything about Maureen. It was just, it was a car that she used. So I knew it would have, you know, all her little trinkets that she likes to have in her cars.
So when you grabbed your bag and you got into the Murano, did you know then where you were going to go?
No clue.
And so you just started driving?
I did.
So I want to hear about this drive. You said you got in the car, you didn't know where you were going yet, you just started driving. Describe your headspace for us. What was running through your mind?
So many questions and no answers. Didn't really know what really at this point anybody would think.
You didn't know what anybody would think?
At this point as to what might have happened.
Okay. And what did you understand to have happened?
Exactly what I saw, that she had taken her life.
So as you started to drive, did you talk to anybody on this drive?
I don't recall it, but as testimony was brought, that there was a text about my middle name. And it is confirmed that it's.
Did you call 911 or police?
Had I know.
Did you try calling your mother or anybody in your family?
I had not.
Did you try calling anybody in Maureen's family to let them know what had happened?
I had not.
Why not?
I don't think I was even thinking clearly at that point.
So where did you wind up driving?
I wound up driving to Falklands.
And what's Foxwoods?
It's a casino.
Okay. When did you decide that that's where you were going to go?
When I was just driving, I leaving our house, both routes of either way I've taken to work. So it's just a common area. And I think eventually when I got on Route 3 and finally got down, I wanted to get to somewhere that was safe and also that was public and that if I needed to be found, I knew I could be found.
So you said you wanted to get somewhere safe. What does that mean?
The concern I had initially when I found Maureen also was a text that Mr. Timbus had sent to my cell phone in regards to threatening me. I really didn't know what was going on or how to explain what was going on. And Foxwoods is a place that where Maureen and I would go, whether anniversaries or occasional trips. And gambling was, it was an addiction for me, but it was a safe haven for me.
When you got to Foxwoods, did you in fact gamble?
Eventually, yeah.
And what kind of games did you play while you were there?
I think initially I started on the card tables upstairs as I had gone to the poker room, and to my recollection, the table wasn't, a seat wasn't available.
Okay. Now, you had been to Foxwoods before, you said.
I had.
You know how many times you had been to Foxwoods over the years?
Maybe, probably 8 to 10 times.
Okay. Now, Bill, we've heard that you frequented a number of gambling establishments here in New Hampshire.
Yes.
When you would go to, let's say, the poker room in Manchester or Chasers, would you commonly see patrons or employees there who you knew?
I would.
What about when you would go to Foxwoods? How large of a place is Foxwoods?
They actually boast themselves as the largest casino in the world.
Okay. And when you would go to Foxwoods, were you familiar with the clientele and the employees like you were familiar with the clientele and employees at places like Chasers?
No, but there was a couple workers at Chasers that actually were employees that happened to be employees at Foxwoods too.
Okay. So this particular time when you went to Foxwoods, did you see anybody who you knew?
Not that I can recall.
Okay. I want to shift gears for a moment and then we will come back to Foxwoods. So you brought up Jamie Timbus. We heard testimony from Jamie Timbus, I believe yesterday. Did you ever ask Jamie Timbus to kill Maureen and make it look like a suicide?
Absolutely not.
Did you ever ask Jamie to help you find a hired killer?
Absolutely not.
Now, some of this may be information that the jurors have already heard, so we will keep it brief, but how did you know Jamie?
He was well, every day it seemed to be different. He was the owner one day, his wife was the owner the next day, he was a manager, but he ran the poker room.
Okay, so you knew Jamie from gambling.
Yeah.
Did you ever spend time with Jamie outside of his establishment?
Very infrequently, but yeah.
And when you would go to his establishment, would you see him there?
Yes, he was there on a regular basis.
Okay. And when he was there, was he ever sitting at the poker table with you?
Yes.
When you play poker at a table, do you ever talk about your personal life with the other people at the table?
I'm usually a private person, but you know, when you get to know people, you know, you might share pictures of like your kids or grandkids, or you know, so you might say, you know, what you did, or really intimate things. No, I wouldn't.
Did you ever complain about your marriage when you sat at the poker table?
No,
You never complained about your marriage at the
I
poker
did
table?
not.
Did you ever complain about Maureen while playing poker?
I wouldn't say complain about Maureen. I would say more of, they would more ask me if my wife knew I was here.
Okay.
And I would say she's a smart woman. I'm pretty sure she thinks that I am. But I would never complain about her.
Was it common for you to drink while playing poker?
I would have some drinks.
Now, the sort of language that you and others would use while at the poker table, is this the sort of language you would use, say, in a professional setting?
Probably not, but it's not really vulgar. I mean, I'm not really one to with vulgarity, but I mean, there'd be some F words and, you know, but.
And this was language and topics of conversation that you would use, say, at a family gathering, a holiday gathering?
Probably not.
Do you ever borrow money from Jamie's club?
I have borrowed money.
And have you ever borrowed money from patrons of Jamie's club?
Yes.
So I want to return to Foxwoods. You arrived at Foxwoods on April 4th. Do you remember about what time you got there?
I got there approximately, I believe, a little after 5 o'clock.
A little after 5 p.m.?
Correct.
On April 4th. And you said that you went upstairs, but there was no seats available.
Correct.
So you went to a different table and played.
Mhm.
Did you eat or drink anything while you were there?
I know I might have had a drink, whether I ate or something. I probably did. I don't recall.
Did you spend the night there?
I did not.
You did not. Now, at some point, you did wind up speaking with police. We heard from tribal police who arrived.
Correct.
When they arrived at Foxwoods, pulled you over from the table, how did you feel?
There was A little confusion, but a little relief.
Why relief?
Because I had a pretty good idea why they were there.
I mean, why was that you thought they were there?
Because they probably wanted to talk to me about my wife being deceased.
Did you think that you were a suspect or a person of interest in her death?
Absolutely not.
Now, we heard from a state police officer who spoke with you at the hospital.
Correct.
Okay. You spoke with him for over an hour, is that right? And he testified that when he told you Maureen had died, that you didn't show much of a reaction. What was going through your mind when he told you that your wife had died?
A flashback of everything I saw.
And during that conversation, did you tell him everything that you saw?
I can't remember if I did or not.
At no point from the time that morning when you found Maureen to when tribal police arrived, at no point did you reach out to the police yourself. Why is that?
I think first it all started with protection of my kids. Then I see police as a means of a crime being done.
Okay.
And at no time did I feel a crime was done.
Okay. So had you thought that this was a crime, would you have called the police to report it as such?
Probably, yes, absolutely.
Now, at no point between the morning of April 4th when you found Maureen and later on at Foxwoods, did you call any of Maureen's family, any of your family, to tell someone what had happened? Why didn't you make any of those phone calls?
I'm sorry, repeat that one more time.
So in the day or so between the morning when you found Maureen and when you were taken to the hospital in Connecticut, you didn't call your mother, you didn't call Maureen's parents, you didn't call your siblings, you didn't call Maureen's siblings, you didn't call anybody to tell them what had happened. Why didn't you make those calls?
I was 100% in shock.
Okay. Good. One moment, please. I have nothing further for you but the statement. Okay?
You are right-handed, right?
I am, sir.
So according to you, Maureen was a suicidal drunk who neglected her kids, right?
That's not what I said, sir.
Wasn't that the portrait that you were trying to paint for these jurors before the lunch recess?
That's the portrait that you're trying to portray, sir.
That would be an inaccurate portrait of Maureen, wouldn't it?
That you're trying to portray? Yes, sir.
And she was a suicidal drunk who neglected her kids, right? That would be inaccurate, right, Mr. Argie?
That you're trying to portray? Yes, sir.
And that would be a despicable character attack on Maureen, wouldn't it?
It would. It would.
The truth is Maureen adored her kids, right?
Maureen was a good mother.
She was a great mother to her kids, right?
She was a great mother.
Well, except when she was passed out on the couch while you were giving the kids piggyback rides, reading to them, right?
That's what I stated, sir.
Who was giving her kids piggyback rides while you were borrowing the college funds at the casino?
There was no blowing of college funds.
Who was reading to your kids when you were spending the mortgage payments at the poker room and at Chasers and at MGM in Massachusetts?
Repeat the question?
Yeah. Who was reading to your kids when you were spending the mortgage payments at the gambling table at Chasers and the poker room at MGM Casino? Who was reading to your kids then, Mr.
Mortgage payments were being made.
Maureen was a loving, attentive, and caring mother, right?
She was.
She took kids to events, right?
She did.
She provided for them as best as she could.
As best she could, correct?
That's pretty much a single parent because you were out gambling the family's money, right?
That's an inaccurate statement.
Maureen lived for her kids, didn't she, Mr. Argie?
I think she lived for her family.
You told these jurors that you found your wife and you laid with her and you cried, right?
Correct.
Were you still crying when you used your dead wife's cell phone to send her a brother a text message pretending to be Maureen?
Sir, I had already tried to commit suicide. I thought that phone was mine and when I was responding to my mother.
Except, Mr. Argie, this text message was at 9:52 a.m., well before you tried to take your own life.
No, that actually is accurate.
So the cell phone records are inaccurate, Mr. Argie. Is that what you're saying?
No, the cell phone records say 9:52. If you would like to put those back up, I'm sure that we can confirm that I reported back to my house well before 9:52.
Yes, you did, from Home Depot, right?
Correct.
Just about 10 minutes.
No, actually, it was a little more than that.
You didn't use that phone that you had access to call Maureen's brother, who truly loved her, to tell her that she was, to tell him that she was dead, did you?
No. And I'll regret that for the rest of my life.
You also didn't use that phone to contact any of the many other people who truly loved Maureen to tell them that she was dead, right?
I did not.
And you didn't use that phone to call 911, right?
What would 911 do, sir?
Were you still shedding tears when you used your dead wife's cell phone to buy yourself hash browns and coffee at the Dunkin' Donuts on the way to the gamble?
I did not go to Dunkin' Donuts.
You didn't go to Dunkin' Donuts in Hudson.
I did not.
And you didn't use your dead wife's debit card at Dunkin' Donuts in Hudson.
I did not.
So someone else must have taken Maureen's debit card and used it.
Well, my personal knowledge in the discovery that you also have access to, she had her debit card missing the day before.
And that same mysterious person also used your debit card to buy a hotel room at the very casino where you were found.
Which I got from Maureen Wednesday morning.
That's a coincidence, huh? So we have another person who stole your wife's debit card, used it at the Hudson Dunkin' Donuts that's on the way to the casino, and also used it at the very casino where you were found. Is that what you're trying to sell to these jurors, Mr. Argie?
When was the debit card used at the casino?
Were you still fighting through tears, Mr. Argie, when you ditched your dead wife's cell phone on the way to Foxwoods to gamble more of your family's money?
I was.
Were you still crying when on the way to Foxwoods casinos to blow more of your family's finances, you texted a potential employer your middle initial?
I did do that, I said.
You certainly was thinking straight then, right?
I don't think it takes much mental capacity to put an A on a telephone.
How much mental capacity does it take to dial 911, Mr. Argie?
Again, the question is, what would 911 do?
And what would calls to Maureen's family do, right? They'll find out somehow. Right? Do you have an answer for that?
Is that a question?
Yeah.
Repeat the question.
Sure. What would calls to Maureen's family do? Do you have any idea? Do you think that they would have appreciated a call about their sister, their daughter? Do you think they might have?
They would have, yes, sir.
You know who you also didn't call, Mr. Argie? You didn't call your mother, right?
Correct.
You didn't call your mother to say, hey, don't bring the kids back to the house to make sure that your wife's children wouldn't see her bloating corpse in the bloody house that you left behind, right? Also didn't do that, Mr. Argie, did you?
I didn't.
You weren't crying when you complained to your friends and family members about how you believe Maureen didn't make enough money, right?
My personal knowledge of those conversations is not how that went.
And you weren't crying when you were complaining to your friends and family members about how you thought Maureen was holding you back, right?
Again, my personal knowledge, that conversation never happened.
And you weren't crying when you told your friends and family members that no way would you pay child support for your two kids, right?
I can confirm that conversation never happened.
But it was more than one conversation, Mr. Argie. If you recall, there are several people who testified to the juror about the conversation. But none of those conversations occurred. That's your testimony?
The testimony for them is that those conversations occurred. My testimony is that they didn't.
You weren't crying when you berated Maureen for several hours in front of your sister Karen, right?
That never occurred either.
And you weren't crying when you told your neighbor, Mr. Lang, that you would kill yourself in order to inflict pain on her, right?
Actually, I think he said that I was distraught. So I believe I was crying.
Right?
Huh?
His testimony was you were angry.
He said distraught.
And in a dark place, right?
Did he say distraught too, sir?
And you weren't crying when you talked to your friend, your good friend, Dan La Rochelle, about killing your wife rather than paying child support, right?
That's inaccurate. I never had that conversation with him.
Never had that conversation. Why would Mr. La Rochelle lie about that?
I can tell you one thing, that he's off by the year. He's off by where it happened. And the conversation never occurred.
Why would Mr. La Rochelle lie about that?
Well, considering that I told him that he wasn't a friend anymore.
We know why you would lie to these jurors, right? Right?
I don't know.
You don't know. You're a smart guy, right, Mr. Argie? You're on trial for murder, right?
Well, you're the one that asked the question, sir.
Yeah. What possible motive would you have to lie to the jury?
I don't know. What motive is that?
Comes to mind? To get away with murder? Would that be a possible motive why you would lie to these jurors?
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I'm not lying to you.
But that conversation with Mr. La Rochelle never occurred, right?
That is correct.
And those conversations with the three witnesses who testified to these jurors, those conversations never occurred. Right?
That is correct.
And that conversation with Mr. Tindus in which you solicited your wife's murder, right?
That is correct.
And Mr. Timbus is lying because
Because what?
exactly. Exactly. Mr. Timbus is lying because
He's trying to get back at me, maybe?
trying to get back. When you went to Connecticut, your bank accounts were tapped out, right?
I believe so.
And you used your dead wife's debit card at that Dunkin' Donuts, didn't you?
I've already testified that I did not go to Dunkin' Donuts.
But in any event, your bank accounts were tapped out. Huh?
Correct.
And we know that you took your dead wife's car, right?
The family car, correct?
And you took your dead wife's cell phone, right?
Correct.
And you claim we have this mysterious thief out there who took your dead wife's debit card and used it at the Dunkin' Donuts in Hudson and also used it at the Foxwoods Casino Hotel, right?
There is no testimony or evidence that I used it at the Foxwoods
But you
Hotel.
took your dead wife's car and cell phone, right?
Correct. I
You
testified.
tapped out of funds, right? You saw the balance, $189 in the negative, right?
Of the bank accounts, I had cash on me.
So you claim that your wife's body was wedged in between the bed and the nightstand when you found her corpse, right?
Correct.
Now, you understand as a smart guy that a necessary component of hanging is that the body needs to be suspended. Right?
Correct.
But according to your account, the body was wedged in between the bed and the nightstand, not suspended.
The wedge is part of the suspension.
Somebody's wedged in and not suspended by the ligature, right? Which is it? Was she wedged or was she suspended?
No, she was wedged. Do you understand what wedge means, sir?
I'm trying to figure it out. I think the jurors are too.
Okay. Would you like me to explain?
Please, I think we all would.
Okay. So as I testified that she was wedged on her right side. So what was holding her up was her left butt cheek was hitting the nightstand and the rest of her body was wedged in between.
So she wasn't hauled up by the ligature.
She was held up by the ligature, but the full weight was not, she was not down on the ground.
And we also have that mysterious bruise on her too. That must have been when she wedged herself in between the nightstand while she was trying to hang herself.
Objection. Objection. Mr. Argie is not testifying to as a medical expert. He doesn't need to comment on what injuries were left behind, where they came from.
He doesn't know, he doesn't know.
I'll allow it.
Repeat the question?
But we're trying to figure out how she got that contusion to her neck.
On the right side? So if somebody has a sheet around their neck and the weight is on the right side, do you understand the concept of a noose and the tightening?
If only we had that sheet so you could demonstrate that. Huh? Where is that sheet?
At this time, I don't know, sir.
Where's your phone? Where's the phone that you had that had this photograph of the 2 open wine bottles that showed that Maureen was a drunk?
That phone is, as far as I know, up in Maine.
And where is Maureen's cell phone?
Unfortunately, the phone went dead, and when driving, I got frustrated that I would not continue to have the phone, and I threw it out on 395.
Phone went dead and you threw it out, right? Tossed it away. Abandoned it. Right?
Correct.
Just like you abandoned your dead wife. Right?
I did not abandon my dead
You
wife.
did not abandon your dead. Mr. Argie, are you an addict?
I am.
You would spend hours of time at casinos, right?
I would.
You spent and lost hundreds and thousands of dollars at a time, right?
That's inaccurate.
You spent and lost money that you didn't have, right?
Can you explain that question?
You spent and lost money that you didn't have.
If you're talking about that I borrowed money, I borrowed money.
You gambled away money that could have been used for your family, right?
I did.
For the mortgage to keep a roof over their heads, right?
I did.
For the kids' summer camp, right?
I did.
While you were gambling and trying to hang on to that expensive, nice new truck of yours, Maureen was borrowing money from family members for the kids' summer camp, right?
I didn't know about that.
Well, that was when she wasn't passed out on the couch, not watching the kids.
Is that a question or a rhetorical
Is that
statement?
characterization of your wife by me?
I didn't know if that was a question or a rhetorical statement.
Tell me, Mr. Argie, were you and are you a friendly and polite actor?
I don't really know how to answer that question.
Well, you neglected your family, right?
I think in order to be an addict, I think that probably might come with the territory.
You mistreated your wife, right?
I didn't mistreat my wife.
You would say hateful things towards her, right?
I disagree with that.
You didn't say anything hateful towards your wife at all, right?
I don't think that I was a saint and being an addict, but I don't think I said hateful things towards her.
You would complain about your wife, right? To others.
Well, I already answered that question and said that's inaccurate.
Mm-hmm. And again, I think you looked at the jurors and told them, looking right at them, I didn't kill my wife. Why don't you look right at them again and tell them that you never said anything bad about your wife does. So they know that they can trust you, Mr. Argie. You look at them.
I would never say anything bad about my wife.
You would never say any hateful things about your wife, Mr. Argie, right? Let them know that it's the truth.
I would say never anything hateful about my wife.
And you never said anything threatening towards your wife, right?
I never said anything threatening towards my wife.
So when you went to the Home Depot and bought utility knives, Maureen was already dead, right?
Correct.
And then you took her car, right?
Our car.
And you took her car because you thought the truck could be tracked for repossession, right?
I'm not quite sure if it could be tracked, but I know that there was a possibility that it might be up for repossession.
And you were clear-headed enough to think that through, right?
Don't think that was a decision that was made right then and there.
When we talked about when you left, you had both your phone and your wife's cell phone, right?
Correct.
We talked about those numerous calls that you never made, right?
What numerous calls I never made.
The 911,
Correct.
Maureen's friends and family,
Correct.
your own family, right?
Correct.
Well, we heard you call with your friend Ray Karen, right?
Which call are you referring to?
The call that we heard between you and Mr. Karan, or Karen.
Are you discussing the 6th?
Yeah.
Correct.
You made sure that your mom was notified of your whereabouts, right?
Correct.
Again, you didn't contact any of Maureen's family and friends or anyone to let them know where she was, right?
Correct.
And getting back to your words to your friend Ray, it was time for you to be selfish, right?
Well, at that point, like he said, he was a best friend. And the fact that he said, I know I would never hurt her on purpose. I knew he was being accusatory.
Your words to your friend, now time for me to be selfish, right?
Again, I knew he was being accusatory. Also, I knew that it was probably at that point being recorded, even though I told the police that I invoked my Miranda rights to not speak with them.
But there was no reason for you to be worried, right? You didn't do anything. Right?
I did not, but that's correct. But again, here I am being accused of something I didn't do.
Just like you were accused, or many people testified about the statements you made about not wanting to get child support. Right?
I believe one person said that, and I said that's an inaccurate.
Well, I believe the jurors actually heard that from your sister Karen, right?
I believe it was Karen.
And also your sister Kelly. Right?
I can't recall Kelly saying that. If she did, then
And your friend TJ.
I don't recall TJ saying it either.
Well, you know that you heard it from Dan LaRochelle because that's when you threatened to kill Maureen.
Well, I would have no problems.
The kids, right?
I have no problem paying child support. As I testified, I had a discussion with Maureen that might get more money.
Let's discuss that conversation that you said you had with Maureen. Those last angry words you claim that you voiced to your wife. You claim that you told Maureen you would fight for custody of the kids and division of assets, right?
Correct.
Apparently, Maureen was so devastated and demoralized by your proclamations that it drove her to take her own life, right?
I can't speak for her mindset at that point.
You were strong in this conversation. Maureen apparently weak and emotionally fragile.
I definitely wasn't strong.
You talked about Maureen being quiet, as did several other witnesses, right?
Correct.
Are you trying to equate Maureen's quietness with mental instability or emotional fragility?
I think that would, those two statements are extreme.
That would be more careful. character assassination of your wife, wouldn't it?
Excuse me?
That would be more character assassination of your wife, wouldn't it be?
Yeah, I think it'd probably be pretty horrible.
Getting back to those last words you said, you spoke to Maureen, that you fight for custody of your kids, right?
Correct.
And at the time, you were an out-of-work, bankrupt, gambling addict who was about to be banished to your mom's vacation, right?
Well, I wasn't out of work. I wasn't bankrupt. And I was not going to be banished to the vacation home.
Well, we heard the calls you made to Ford Motor Credit where you talked about having a job 2 days in the last month. What do you characterize that as?
That was,
right away, and this is 2 months prior to her actually dying, that he was solicited to murder her. This was his friend, this was a customer, he had a meeting, it was proven by the text the meeting took place, but the actual solicitation prior to that, that within itself is definitely going to turn the heads of the jurors right now.
And Lisa Lockwood, Adam makes an interesting point, and let me just tell you that Adam just had the first not guilty verdict in Manhattan since the pandemic began with a live juror, not on Zoom, but like in a real courtroom, okay? So he's really good about that. But if you are now the state and you are the police officer advising the prosecution, what do you say to counter that for any type of follow-up witnesses or argument?
I think the key that really turned for me was the moment that he said, you're at another casino, you're gambling with somebody else, you owe us money, I'm going to take care of you. Now he's getting threats saying, I'm going to take care of you and get even, and I'm going to show up. And he was so angered just a couple of days later in his desperation of paying that debt and getting rid of his wife, so to speak. I think that would have been really important to follow up with, because it was literally several days after that fact when he realized his friend of 7 or 8 years, who knows him, who knows his history, who knows his gambling debts, has now betrayed him. He was desperate and needed that money.
The self-strangulation with the sheet, Lisa Lockwood, that's kind of an interesting concept here, self-strangulation with the sheet. But of course, Jim Timbers also said that indeed, hey, he hated her. He told me he hated her. Hatred and the will to get the money from a life insurance policy, according, we just heard that the wife never knew, Maureen never knew was on her life.
Yeah, so that makes you think, how long was this intended? How much hate did he have for her? What was the period of time? When was the insurance policy put into effect? And why was it secret? So those are important things with the investigation. And also, too, when somebody generally kills themselves, if it was impulsive, potentially it would have been drugs. It would have been an overdose. To actually choke yourself out on a bedpost, that's peculiar in itself. So I think the investigation showed that the likelihood of her doing that is probably very low.
And when we come back, there'll be more on the William Argie trial. There's a new witness on the stand, and we will bring it to you only here at the Law and Crime Network. Stay with us. And Lisa Lockwood, when there's an investigation going on, there's a reason to keep things secret. What's the difference between having an active investigation and a public trial where the public is to judge, along with the jury, whether or not the defendant gets a fair trial, and whether or not the evidence was there to support either a conviction or a not guilty?
Yes, I mean, there's only so much that you want to expose to the public when it is ongoing. Police officers and the protocol is that you keep those cards close to your chest so that you don't taint the investigation in any way. And I do have to say, when the crime scene analyst was actually on the stand and she used her laser and kept pointing up to the screen that we weren't able to see, the camera was able to see her actually flipping her pages and her version of what was there. And we were able to see a little bit of those crime scene photos. And I said, why are we not seeing this?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, it's definitely a First Amendment, a public right to know issue. And while the courts have an obligation to either first allow cameras in the courtroom or not under the rules, once they find the cameras in the courtroom, then they've decided that this is a public courtroom. And certainly when those documents become evidence, they become open to the public and they have to eventually be released anyhow, as we see some courts do if there's like a very gruesome picture, for instance, of a child or something like that. Lisa Lockwood, let's talk about this. And I love this whole Dunkin' Donuts issue because every morning I get up on my DoorDash and order Dunkin' Donuts. And it's me, it's the blueberry ice cream lattes and it's, an egg wrap just with no cheese, no nothing, just plain, protein egg. But here, the fact that they're eliciting not just the purchase on the credit card, but what was bought, the one egg, bacon and cheese, the one hash brown, and one medium cup of coffee, would indicate that even though the victim's phone was traveling with William Argie, she was not because of the order, correct?
That's correct. So yeah, it was an order for him, for one person. And then the further tracking was able to show that he was at a hotel across from a casino. And this is common practice for him. And we also learned that she had already been deceased. His wife had already been deceased. So what was he doing? Why was he in those locations? Was this common for him at that time of the day? He was not aware that she killed herself at that point. So the timeline is very important in all of it.
And I said the word murder, but of course we don't know whether he murdered her. That's for the jury to decide on what the state is contending. He maintains his innocence. Lisa Lockwood, my crime analyst, former SWAT, former police officer, talk to me a little bit about domestic violence here and how this father could kill this mother knowing his kids were sleeping down the hall and then just send him away on a school bus to school, I think, so he could get away.
Yes, without a doubt. And that's where I'm leaning. And 9 and 6 years old children know a lot. They've been in the house. They've witnessed fights, arguments. We have a sister-in-law who said that he was berating her in the basement for over an hour and a half at one point. So you better believe those children have seen quite a bit over the years regarding the dysfunction in the relationship. So it's coming out slowly. And I think the person who interviewed those children probably know a lot more regarding the one daughter who went into the bedroom and then how that child showed up in school. Was she distraught? Was she concerned about her mother? Did she discuss it with anybody else that her mother was in bed sick and not moving?
Well, I want to thank both of you, my guests. You're always fabulous to be on, terrific, giving us the best scoop. Adam Conta and Lisa.
I worked as needed. It's called board per diem. I had taken that on as a choice of mine, roughly about October, November of 2018.
What's up, bro?
That was roughly also the time that Maureen and I
was
were
calling you up, bro. I was hoping you would come
going
through.
into therapy and doing therapy. One of the things that she did talk about was obviously
This
the
case
gambling.
is let me
and
show
the
this
job.
other
So
let me show this other graphic. So this case is hella interesting. I know we like to show the cases with the different things about life insurance. So this case is hella interesting. I'm sure you heard about it because it's over there in your neck of the woods too. Londonderry, New Hampshire. Londonderry, New Hampshire. So it's in your neck of the woods and it's right up your alley. So I was thinking, Alonzo Hall, this is one we could do tag team on. Pause. But it's not funny, but shout out to my brother Alonzo Hall, Financial All-Star. You know what I'm saying? Make sure you subscribe, man. Book your consultation. That boy doing hot fire work over there, helping black men, helping men, period. Father power, father power, father power. But see, this right here, this case, I've been doing the courtroom TV. this new format I have called The Perfect Perspective. I'm going over courtroom cases, and I find unique court cases to highlight different things that really are the perfect timing podcast principles, which go back to father power, fathers and men, and God first. So I found this case because we've talked a lot about estate planning and life insurance, and I think this highlights a lot of things about men, marriage, love, fathers, family. This is a father. He's being alleged of strangling his wife. He was a physician assistant. He lost his job. If anybody, I worked in healthcare, which is a lot of reasons why I picked this story, because it's a lot that I could pick apart. I worked in healthcare IT for over 15 years. A physician assistant is right underneath the doctor, and a lot of times in the ambulatory MOB, you're not always seen by a PhD. You may be seen by a PA, or you may be seen by a nurse practitioner, but you would know the difference. They operate as doctors and they can prescribe and diagnose. That was his function. He also was a gambler. He was addicted to playing poker, and he became in debt. Now it becomes an ABC 7 movie, bro, where here it is. He has all this debt, right? And then he starts going to play poker, right? And he's talking about this horrible marriage, his ugly wife, and all this stuff at the poker table. It gets to the point where he's in so much debt, he makes a poker buddy, just like an ABC movie. You know what I'm saying? He makes a degenerate poker buddy, and he enlists the poker buddy to murder his wife, right? He enlists the poker buddy to murder his wife. And the poker buddy, according to the prosecutors, the poker buddy says no. According to the prosecutors, the poker buddy says no. The poker buddy says, I'm not going to help you. He then asked the poker buddy, he says, okay, if you won't help me kill her. So the first offer was, will you help me kill my wife, and I'll split the $400,000 insurance policy with you. The poker buddy says no, right? And then he says, okay, he offered him like a smaller amount of money to help me hire a hitman. And then he says no again. What's said in the prosecution is saying that the poker buddy didn't believe that he would go through with the actual murder. But what took place is not too much longer after the conversation where he attempted to hire someone is the wife turned up dead, is strangulated, and a fixation where she had been smothered. And then they couldn't figure out what happened. They said that something was an accident. They couldn't figure out what happened. Now, come to find out, brother, this guy had a life insurance policy on this woman that the wife did not know about. In fact, he was the sole beneficiary, and no one knew about the life insurance policy. He was the only one who knew about the life insurance policy. He was the sole beneficiary, and the life insurance policy was for $400,000. $400,000, bro. Prosecutors, man killed wife for $400,000 life insurance policy, bro. They had been married for 13 years. I want to go to the details of the policy because I read this earlier in the podcast. Prosecutors say William Argie was motivated to kill his wife for her $400,000 life insurance policy, of which he was the sole beneficiary. Sole beneficiary. So, I mean, I don't know, Lonzo, if you want to break that down about how you structure these things and how this happens to where, because I know there's somebody I don't know, man. You the expert, man. You could break it down, break the case down. Like, how does a husband go about getting a $400,000 life insurance policy where he's a sole beneficiary and the wife doesn't know about it? Is that something that you get through your job? A man he gambled with named James Timbus is said to have confirmed the theory when he contacted police after hearing of Maureen's death. According to Timbus, William Argie will complain about his wife and their relationship when he gambled, as well as how he hated and wanted to get rid of her. He claims that several weeks before Maureen was found dead, William Argie offered him a share of his wife's insurance policy to help kill her. Man, that's crazy. offer him a share of the insurance policy to help kill her. $400,000, man. Okay, I'm just making sure my audio is good. Let's go back. Shout out to my good brother, man. Prosecutors, man killed wife of $400,000 policy. Now he's on the stand right now, and he's not. It don't seem like he's being too cooperative either, bro. He's not being too cooperative on the stand right now. So that's just a little backstory of what we're watching today. The doctor's name is William Argie. His wife's name was Maureen Argie. They actually had 2 children together. It's kind of sad, bro. They actually had 2 children together. And unfortunately, this is how he felt he had to take care of his family. I don't know, man. This ain't taking care of your family, man. That's the kid's mother, so it's kind of fucked up the way this all worked out. But let's get into it. It's the perfect perspective.
I told her I would start looking for a full-time job.
You say that you threatened Maureen that you'd fight for custody. Just a week prior, you had openly talked about killing yourself, right?
Correct.
And you think that this made you a prime candidate to be custodial parent for your 2 young kids?
I think going over to my neighbor Dave's house was, as he said, venting. Cry for help.
Well, you threatened Maureen that you tell the judge that she's a drunk, right?
I didn't say that she was a drunk. I just brought those pictures to her and questioned her.
But we know that you threatened to kill yourself just that week before. And the judge, custody would have been able to know that as well, right?
I don't know.
But again, your threats to Maureen that you said that you made to custody scared poor Maureen to commit suicide, right?
What I've testified is that I had that conversation and the next morning.
Your own doting mother told you days before Maureen's death that you were unfit to care for your own kids, right?
That was her opinion.
There was a text message you saw, right?
Correct.
And that upset you, your mother telling you that, right?
I don't think I really had an opinion either way.
And it also upset you that your mother was providing a home for Maureen and the kids, right?
Yeah, I think I would agree to that.
You felt betrayed by your family.
Correct.
Also, with respect to this alleged conversation with Maureen before she apparently took her own life, you talked about fighting for division of assets, right?
Correct.
And you're at least planning to file for bankruptcy, right?
I had discussed with a lawyer, yes.
Division assets, you're talking 50-50?
The lawyer, yes.
What's half of negative $189, which is what you had in your bank accounts at the time?
That's not what was going to be split.
What is half of the massage and food bill that you skipped out of from the poker room and whatever outstanding gambling debt you had around town.
Again, that's not half of what was going to be split.
What is half of that expensive new truck that you were leasing that you couldn't pay for and was about to be repossessed?
I'll tell you that that truck I could care less about.
Except we have the phone call that you made to Ford Credit 3 times, right?
Well, at the same time, when you have a bill, you try to pay it.
The biggest asset you had was that life insurance policy on Maureen's life, right?
It's not an asset.
And again, how much was that for, Ms. Argie?
400,000.
400,000. And you, according to your friends and family who testified, would do your best. You were all about the money, right?
That was their perception of me.
But again, these were your family members, right? Yeah?
Yes.
And your closest friends before you turned your back on them, right?
Yeah, they always perceived me as about all the money, about the money. I think about the money, let me try to explain that. I'm in a lucrative field. If I'm going to work at an urgent care center for 36 hours a week at one center, and they're going to pay me $150,000 a year, and another one is going to pay me $180,000, I'm going to go work for the $180,000 one. That's not about being about all the money. That's just being a smart person. You're doing the same work, might as well get paid a little more money.
All that money that you were making, that was in April of 2019.
Not quite understanding the question.
Yeah. Well, we saw your bank accounts. You remember I had them on the screen and we went over month by month for January, February, March.
Yep.
And we had for March, you had a negative balance on your three accounts of $189, right?
I have two accounts.
You have three.
Well, the third one is mine and Maureen's, as you didn't point out. So there's two accounts.
Okay, so we had three accounts. I think one of them had $1,
Yep.
right? And the other one had 99 cents,
Correct.
right? And the other one had negative $191. So which two were you flowing in cash with? You had the dollar and the 99-cent one?
No, I had the negative 199, which, as you heard on the Ford credit call, I was continuing to get late fees because they were taking money from the wrong account. I had talked to a lawyer about that. And the other one was a play account for my poker. So the fact that I had $1 in it, that probably was a good thing, seeing that I'm an addict.
So again, let's go over statements that you claim that you didn't make to friends and family that the jurors heard over the past week. Okay?
Yes.
You repeatedly talked to friends and family about how you believe Maureen didn't make enough money to your satisfaction. Did those conversations occur or not occur, Mr. Argie?
My conversations in regards to that was never about money. I would always have conversations with Maureen, whether she worked or not. That was up to her. Once my career was set, I actually made enough so she could stay home if she so desired. My concern was that she did love what she did. She was very good at what she did. I'm very thankful for her employer because it did allow the flexibility for her to go in late to allow me to work my 12 to 13-hour shifts. She was a social worker in the state of Massachusetts under a loophole. However, she cannot be a social worker outside the state of Massachusetts. And her goal was to try to work in New Hampshire. So my concern was always when I encouraged her, when I went to PA school, she had just finished her undergrad. I encouraged her to go back for her master's. She did. And luckily, she was able to stay on with her employer and get a job. However, I constantly asked her, could we ever move out of the area and her be able to have steady employment? That was my concern. It was never really about the money. I would talk about money that I was making, and was very happy with that, as I was doing very well with supporting my family until I became an addict.
Are you done, Mr. Argie?
I am.
And it's your testimony that you never told any of your family members or friends, and specifically those who testified this past week, that you never or didn't want to pay child support.
That is my testimony.
And the statements that the jurors heard from Dan LaRochelle, it's your testimony that you never made those statements
About child support?
about killing your wife for child support.
I never told Dan LaRochelle that I would kill my wife.
And Dan LaRochelle would lie about that because
I'll tell you what I did tell him.
my question is, Dan LaRochelle would lie about that because
I'm not concerned. I don't know. I will tell you that he is lying.
and Jandy Tempest is also lying about the solicitation at the restaurant that he showed the jurors text messages regarding that meeting.
Correct.
Which reminds me, do you remember your lawyers were cross-examining Mr. Tempest, right?
Correct.
And asked if he had documentation for that meeting, right?
Correct.
Suggesting that if he didn't have documentation, he must be lying, right?
Correct.
And what documentation do you have for any of the story that you told the jurors?
Well, to my personal knowledge, reviewing the discovery, it took him 4 interviews to finally figure it out that it was on February 13th.
No, you're actually wrong about that, but let's stick to the question that I asked. You can try to do that. What documentation do you have in support of the story that you gave the jurors this afternoon?
I don't.
And actually, Mr. Tempest did have documentation in terms of the text messages. Right?
Because I texted him, yes.
No further questions?
Any retract?
No, no, sorry, direct.
Okay. Mr. Argie, you can step down and
All right, thank you, Your Honor.
anything further from the defense?
No, that doesn't really make sense.
Okay. Can I see counsel? So, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we are at a point in this trial where the state, I'm sorry, I apologize, Attorney Hinckley and Chernisky, does the state intend to present any further evidence?
No, thank you, Judge.
Okay. So the state and the defense have both rested their cases. This is the time in a case where we then move next to closing arguments and the further instructions from the court. Because of the later hour in today's date, it's not, I could have it start, but we wouldn't get through both. And I would rather have them, counsel be able to provide their closing arguments at the same time. And so I'm going to stop the trial today and we'll resume at 9 o'clock on Monday. So the trial is not over. We are all in the same exact position we've been in every day where we've ended. I want you to continue to keep an open mind, not talk about the case with anyone, and let me know if anything comes up. First thing Monday morning at 9, you will hear closing arguments from counsel. You will hear further instructions from the court. At that point, I will select 6 jurors who will become the alternates in this case, and as well, by random lot, the foreperson. And so any one of you could be the alternate, any one of you could be the foreperson. Obviously, because we don't know who those individuals are, there's no way any deliberations can start until we get to that point of the trial. So please keep in mind the instructions I've provided to you so far, and have a nice weekend. And we will start up at 9 on Monday. You'll go to the same location that you went to every other day. We have made arrangements as to where deliberations will occur and where the alternates will occur, will be held. So all
So
of that
next
will be
week, sounds like
provided
we
to you
might
at
get a
that
verdict
point,
on this,
in the
y'all.
trial when we get to the
So we'll be
conclusion of
back
the
to
trial.
watch the verdict on this.
But
Thank
still
y'all for
request-
hanging out with me today. We'll follow up on the verdict next week. I might come back and do some updates. You know, we do the updates, up late, uptakes. Thank y'all for hanging out. This is the Perfect Perspective. This is your boy, Perfect Timing. Y'all have a bomb-ass weekend.